Welcome to the Voices of Healing podcast. I'm your host, Tina Clark. Today's guest is Meridee Hlokoff. She is a spiritual healing catalyst and addiction breakthrough guide. And she has created a system that's 98% effective in curing addiction. So that sounds very exciting, and I can't wait to hear more.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
So, Meredith, tell the audience a little bit more about yourself and your background, and we can get into maybe your story and some other fantastic stories you want to share.
That sounds fantastic. So for me, this all started with a desperate attempt to quit smoking. And I just could not seem to find my way through that addiction, no matter what I did. And then I ended up getting this kind of like this, hey, we'll try this. And I was like, well, at this point, I'm willing to try anything. So I ended up trying cold laser therapy, and it was the most, it was just the most amazing treatment I had ever had. That being said, the way it was done, the information that was provided was very minimal. And so I drove home the 3 hours from where I had the treatment done. And I actually didn't think about smoking once, but the person that was with me ended up saying, hey, are you going to quit smoking at some point? And I was like, wait, what are you talking about? And he said, you're sitting here doing all of the actions that you would do if you were still smoking. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, first you roll the window down, then you start petting the center console. And when you don't find what you want, you just keep driving. And I was like, it's really strange because I haven't thought about smoking once. And he was like, there's no way. And I was like, for real, not once have I thought about it. And
so can I jump in for a second?
Yeah.
Can you explain what cold laser therapy is?
So cold laser therapy is low level radiation. So not toxic, not poisonous. And it's combined with red light therapy. So right now you see the big trend is red light therapy for a ton of different things, healing, overall skin, you name it, it's being used right now for treatments. And so we take the two and combine them into a cold laser, and the cold laser ends up treating specific acupuncture or acupressure points. So we're using age-old Eastern medicine combined with this new technology of Western medicine, and combining the two. And of course, when you combine the two, you get the best outcome. So what we're doing is we're just instructing your body to do something different and take it back to where it knows best. And your body knows better than any person, any doctor, anything. Your body is this miraculous thing that can fix itself. And so we're just the instructors that tell it to do so. And so for me, I had this for quitting smoking, and it is becoming slightly more well known for smoking these days, but it's still not as recognized as it should be because, you know, you go to your doctor and you ask for a prescription and he'll give you one. But what he doesn't tell you is that they have between 17 and 20% success rates. And I'm sorry, but if I have a 17 to 20% chance of something, that's a pretty low chance. Like if I got 17 to 20% on a test I did, my parents would have crapped their pants. Like that would not have been okay. So I ended up purchasing the training because I started smoking 5 years later. And I did the training with the lady in less than 2 hours, and I was left with like so many questions. And I came home and I started practicing, and I was getting, 85% success rates at like 3 to 6 months. And I was just like, I do 85% without trying. Like I'm an overachiever. So 85% is me just doing life. Never mind if I actually put some real effort into it. And so I started experimenting on people with their permission. And I started really researching and checking into what I was doing. And it really ended up kind of surfacing for me that the way that this would work the best is, if I did a certain pattern, a certain sequencing, a certain timing, a specific laser, all these different things. And I studied it for about 5 years and found just the best way to move through it. And then at some point, one of my friends came to me and said, hey, like at this point, I'm so desperate. My daughter is a heroin addict, and I need her off. And so she's agreed to come try this with me, and I will pay for her and her boyfriend's treatments. And so I was excited because I've seen what it can do for smokers. So when there's someone involved whose life is really on the line, because, for a smoker, yeah, my life is on the line. I could get cancer. I could die a very icky, painful, horrific death because I smoke. But I'm not losing what I could lose if I was an addict. You lose your home, you lose your life, you lose your family, you lose your friends. Like, you end up with nothing left except your other addicts. And you have no money and you have no success, and it feels like a failure all the way around when you're addicted to heavy substances. And so I actually ended up having them in my office. They had woken up in the morning and refused to not use. They were in my office about 2 hours later. I waited until they were sober enough that, I could at least have communication with them. And then I took them in the room and I gave them their treatment. And then they did their follow-up appointments. Sadly, I want to say a year later, the boyfriend used. And when he relapsed, it actually cost him his life. And a lot of the reason for that, it happens more often in alcohol than anything else. But in addiction, when you relapse, your body goes into shock, and that causes us to die. And so relapse is actually a lot more serious than a lot of people think. Like, they think, oh, a user just decided to use again, and it's not that simple. And because your body has been away from it, whether it's a week, a month, a year, 10 years, your body goes into shock because it doesn't know how to deal with it. And so in that regard, I have found that this treatment will keep you sober as long as you do what you need to do. And our addiction is the solution to the problem. And the problem is that we were never taught how to cope. We were never taught, how to live life. We were never taught how to deal with stresses, all of those things. And so it became like my lifelong goal to make Laser Quit the way that we deal with addictions, because the people that we've treated, we're seeing the people that use the program properly, we're seeing 98% success rates. That means that they don't just get clean, they stay clean long term. So I have people who have been sober for 5 years. I have smokers that have not been smoking for 13 years. So it really has been this amazing experience for me. And that just turned into this. If we can see this kind of success, imagine if we're dealing with the core of the problem with our brain working. And so what a lot of people don't understand is that when we use a substance for a long period of time and then we stop, one of the biggest problems we have is that your brain takes 14 to 18 months to fully recover. And even in that, when it fully recovers, you're never back to normal because the physiological and chemical makeup of your brain has completely changed. So for the first 14 to 18 months, these people's brains aren't functioning properly. Never mind the fact that they now need to deal with the traumas that they were handed. So I don't know if you've ever been depressed, but I have. And depression literally felt like trying to see through the fog, or, have an umbrella in your face and trying to walk somewhere, but you can only see like 2 inches in front of you and everything is 10 times worse and all of those things. Well, these people come out of detox and their brain is not making normal chemicals because it's trying to recover. And that recovery process, like I said, takes 14 to 18 months. Now I'm telling someone, I need you to recover. I need you to deal with the traumas that you have and move forward so that we can keep you sober. But the problem that we're running into is that I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm unhappy, and everything that I have to deal with is 10 times worse than it would be if I wasn't depressed or anxious. And what we do with Laser Quit is we trick your brain into thinking it's already gotten the fix so that you don't have that 18-month recovery. You can stay sober for 18 months. This is how come people can't get and stay sober, is because their brain is not recovered. Our treatments actually help your brain to create the endorphins that would make you feel like a normal person, which then gives you the space, energy, time to be able to really deal with the trauma, which is the real problem in the first place.
So what kind of addictions does this work with?
I don't have any. So we have porn, gambling, phones, sex, food, uh, any kind of, addiction like alcohol, heroin, cocaine, methamphetamines, smoking, vaping, like you name it, and we can treat it. The only thing that we have where I would say we have an issue is the ones that are the ones you have to do in order to live. So like sex, food, your phone, those ones are really hard ones to deal with in the fact that you still need to use them in everyday life in order to function, in order to live. And so it makes it a lot more challenging because now they have to use their addiction in moderation, which means you really need to heal the upstairs before you can really like actually use it in moderation. We have to become conscious to be able to actually use it in moderation. So there's the simple ones. I call them simple because they're the ones that are so direct. And then there's the ones that we don't have a choice. We still have to do these things in order to, function in life.
Yeah, that makes sense. So is this something that you have to come in person and get these treatments?
Yes,
Okay.
you do. That being said, we are expanding. So right now we are looking for partners who would love to have this as a service within their business that they already have. If they're, a spa, a medi spa, a wellness center, something like that, or they offer holistic services, they may want to have our business inside of theirs, and then we just charge commission on what we do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So where is this available now, and where are you?
So we have multiple locations in British Columbia and Alberta, and we are open to expanding into the United States, across Canada, and we are looking to eventually be across the entire world.
Yeah, of course. With such a high success rate, I'm surprised that this is not spreading like wildfire
I know.
already.
I
Yeah.
know. I mean, eventually people are going to be like, hey, I saw that girl on, Tina's show, and it was great. And now look at where she's at, because I'm determined to make it so that this is a recognized holistic method of treating addiction.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because it's combining technology with ancient practices of acupuncture points
Yes.
and meridian points.
Yes. And
Yeah,
this is how we like get into it, right? Is we're using your body. That's the thing that makes us so different, is we're actually using your body's energies, your chi, that gets you, like, it knows better than anything else that you do. So what a great way to do anything, really.
Yeah, so the body knows, and we're just helping it, We're
Yes.
just realigning it, putting it back on track, and it's been
Yes.
off track.
Yes.
I love that. So can you share some more stories of how either yourself or some of your clients overcome their addictions? What stands out as like a great story to tell?
So I have this one lady, and it's funny because the way she came in, she filled out the forms, and she wasn't, as I want to say, honest, forthcoming, I guess would probably be a better word, as she should have been. So on the forms, we do ask, we cannot treat people who are bipolar. There just seems to be a really negative reaction in their brain. So we don't typically treat people who have bipolar. And so what she didn't tell me was she actually had seizures. And the parts she did tell me was, I would like to quit smoking. I would like to quit pulling my hair, and I would really like help with my depression and anxiety. And I was like, I can help with all of those things. Are there any concerns? Do you have bipolar? She says, no, I have no concerns. Awesome. So I give her treatment, and her husband phones me. She's not super technology smart. And so her husband phones me and says, I don't know what you did to my wife. And I'm like, oh no. She wonder if she was bipolar. And he's like, she's been amazing. And I was like, wait, what? And he's like, she has been the happiest I've seen her in a long time. We've left the house a lot more because her anxiety has decreased. She gets out of bed in the morning with like a pep in her step. And I haven't seen her like this in years and years and years. And I was like, this is fantastic. He said, when should I bring her back? And I was like, when you notice, or she notices that she's starting to feel a little low, or within 6 to 8 weeks. And so he says, this is so fantastic. I just wanted to thank you myself. Like, you don't know the impact you're having on the families around you. And I was like, oh, I love that. And then she comes back for her follow-up appointment, and she's like, I have to show you my hair. And she had bald spots when she originally came in, and actually she was starting to fill out like a lot of her hair, and the bald spots had baby fur on them, and it was amazing. And she's like, I just wanted to show you this. And then I give her treatment. And then as we're leaving, she's like, I feel like I need to be honest about something, especially because you've changed some things for me. And I was like, okay, tell me what. And she said, well, when I came to see you, I was having about 50 grand mal seizures a day. And I was like, oh my God, you didn't tell me that you're having seizures? Like, this is a big deal. And she's like, I know. And my doctor told me not to come see you, which is why I didn't tell you. And I was like, oh no, what happened? And she's like, well, I'm down to 5 grand mal seizures a day. And I was like, pardon me? And she's like, you wouldn't believe how much this has helped my overall well-being. I'm not smoking. I'm not depressed. I'm not anxious. I'm not pulling my hair. My counselor and my doctor are so excited about where I am because I have never been here. And so they've asked for your contact information. So I just want to make sure that it's okay that I give it to them. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So she gave out the information. She did her 4 treatments. And I want to say on her last one, she actually had some hair growing back in places that, like, her doctor had said, like, you're probably just not going to see hair in these places. Like, you've pulled it out from the root and there's not a lot we can do. She was ecstatic. I have a video testimonial of her putting her earrings back in while talking to me because she was just so excited about the result. And she's like, can I do a testimonial for you? And I was like, yes, please. Because typically I have to ask for those. And this lady just wanted to, help us and give us the feedback so that, we could continue to help more people. And so we've also treated lots of people with, like, I've treated kids with autism as well as adults with autism. My one favorite story is actually a guy who came to sell me radio ads. And he came in my office and he said, I've actually heard a lot about you. So I was kind of excited that you ended up being my client. And I was like, okay. And he said, I think I'd like he said, my wife smokes. So I think I'd really like to get her in here. And I was like, waiting for we'll make a deal. And instead he said, like, you don't need to use my radio ads if you don't want to, but I'd love it if you would, but I'd like to get my wife in here. And then he also said, and I have 2 autistic sons and I'd like to bring them in and just see if this would work and all these things. So he wrote, he had agreed to, here's the disclosure forms, here's the risk forms, like, make sure these are filled out. So he brought his wife and his youngest son in at the same time. And I asked them who wanted to go first. And the wife was like, well, I'm going to go have one more cigarette. And the son was like, I'll try it. And he was about 16. And so I gave him his treatment. And then I brought him out and I went to grab the wife. And the son sat down and the dad looked at him and said, how are you feeling? And he said something about this effing something. And I was like, oh no, what happened? Like, maybe this is like treating bipolar. Like, this is, and I was like, I'm going to take your wife and I'm going to treat her. And then I looked at her and I said, do you have bipolar? And she said, no. And I was like, hey, let's go. Cause I don't know what's going to happen. Like, he didn't seem happy. He seemed quite, like, uncomfortable and disgruntled almost. And so I was like, oh boy. So I took the wife in, I gave her treatment. We came out and the son ran up to me and picked me up and, like, spun me around in a hug. And I was like, oh, what happened? And the dad said, usually I have to communicate for him, but he asked me if he could tell you. And I was like, okay, cool. And the son looked at me and said, I feel like you took this blanket that I've been wearing, a rage blanket, you took it off and you threw it away. And now I'm not full of rage anymore. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And you noticed this in this 30 minutes that it took me to treat your mom. And his mom quit smoking successfully, still to this day is quit smoking. The son came back from multiple treatments, and the dad said that it actually helped him with, like, empathy and saying thank you and appreciating other people. And normally, he has a special soccer team that he's part of. And the dad said that, when they lose, everyone gets off the court, off the whatever, and they are kind of like, they know he's going to throw a fit if they've lost. And he actually didn't throw a fit, walked over to his dad and said, I feel so disappointed in myself. I let my team down. And his dad was like, wait, what? And so just this different acknowledgement that came from him. And he said he just felt so calm. So I've seen things that, like a doctor has said, no, don't treat this person. And they've come in and gotten treated anyways. And the results have been only positive. We see no negative contraindications with any of the treatments unless the person is bipolar. The only time I've seen anything negative.
On a spiritual level, which is the arena that I work in, I wonder if there's something about the technology that kind of clears somebody's energy field.
It does. It makes your energies move inside your body is what it does. And when your energies are able to move freely and do what they're instructed to do, the outcome is a better you, period, no matter how we do it.
Yeah, and I wonder with the rage, that sounds like it might have been something coming outside of him or energy that was around him. And that's why he said the rage blanket was taken off. And I think there's something about the technology that removed that.
Yeah. And I find that with like I said, we've worked with a lot of autistic kids since. And even the younger ones will tell me that they just feel more calm. Like when they first have their treatment, they're a little bit off. They're not happy.
Mm-hmm.
They're frustrated because now they don't like autistic. It's very routine. It's very they know what to feel. They know how they're, they just know. It's all very, very scheduled for them. And so when they walk out and they feel different, they're not quite sure how they feel. And they're not sure if it's good or bad. And they're not sure if they like me or if I'm a problem for them. But usually by the next morning, they are like, oh, I just feel so much better, things like that. And then even this one kid that we treated, he was about 8 and he lived with his grandparents. And they said that his attitude was completely different when he was, having his treatments. And she noticed at about 5 weeks that he kind of turned into a jerk or started to head down that road again. And then she said she'd call me and we'd book him again. And she said for him between 4 and 5 weeks, he needed to come back. And when she asked the first night, do you want to go back and see that lady? He said, no way. 5 weeks later, she said, would you be open to going to see that lady again? And he was like, yeah, she was wonderful. And I loved it. And I actually feel so much better. And he's 8. So the fact that he's acknowledging these things is a really big deal. And then on top of it, he was very autistic. So though he could communicate, he had some other disabilities that came along with it for him. And just the results have been incredible.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because we speculate a lot on what causes autism, but it sounds like it's not only physical, but it's multi-layered. It's emotional, it's mental, it's spiritual.
I think so too. Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot more layers to it than we realize. Mm-hmm. And yet there's treatments that a lot of people we're not acknowledged because we don't have a governing body. And then on top of that, even if we have a governing body, we are still holistic, which means woohooey, unproven, all of these things. And it drives me crazy because my body knows the answer better than anyone or anything else. My doctor can't give me an answer. I went to him and said, I have all these symptoms. He did a blood test and said, oh, look, your thyroid's in the normal range. You shouldn't have these symptoms. And I was like, what is the normal range? And he's like 350 or 300 to 750. And I was like, hey, that's a really big range for me to be telling you I have all of the symptoms. And I didn't even realize what my symptoms were leading to. He tested my thyroid because he knew that all my symptoms seemed to lead there. Now, I fell at about a 350. And when I went to a naturopath, they said, you're about a 350. But I mean, even a little bit can make a big difference. And so they started giving me natural thyroid meds. And they changed my reading from a 350 to like a 393 or something along those lines. And that tiny little shift, I had no more symptoms. So my doctor had said, no meds for you because you're not symptomatic enough. And yet my naturopath was like, well, if we try this little thing, it might completely change your outcome. And it did. So when it comes to this, like this natural supplements, natural healing, using your body that knows best and just giving it instruction to fix itself has been, for me, the best result. This is where I have seen all of the best things happen with my body by allowing my body to do what it's supposed to do. Now, that being said, you and I could take the same medication. Say our doctor gave us something for depression. I could take it and I'd be perfectly fine and it would fix my symptoms. You could take it and you'd be throwing up and feeling awful. It's very similar with anything we do, right?
Not
It's
not
going to
everything
totally depend.
is the same, and we need to stop treating everybody like they're the same.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we have to treat each other as individuals, and
Yes.
what works for some people doesn't work for other people. And that's why I have this podcast, because there's so many holistic practitioners out there doing different things, and you have to try a lot of different things,
Yes.
and you will find something that works. I promise
Yes.
you that you will
Yes.
find something. Just
It'll
keep
be the last thing
trying.
you try.
I mean, like you, I imagine you didn't even anticipate that cold laser therapy was going to help you stop smoking.
No. When I
And
heard about it, I just thought this is woohooey, but you know what? I'm down for some woohooey stuff. And then the woohooey worked out really great for me. And because I saw the results in not just in myself, but in other people that I knew, I was like, interesting. And then it really stole my passion when I was able to help people I didn't know I could help.
and think about all these holistic practitioners out there, like for example, I'm a Reiki master. I've been doing it for 11 years. I'm not doing it for 11 years because it doesn't work.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I
Like I'm
do.
I'm doing this because I see results and my
Yes.
clients see results. And if they weren't, I wouldn't be doing it anymore.
Yeah. And I'll have the occasional person who, oh, you're a scammer. And I'm like, well, 13 years later, I'd say I probably wasn't.
Yeah.
Like if I'm a scammer, I'm not going to last very long. There wouldn't be all these other locations of places. They don't do it the same as me. I literally took the basic instruction training that they've given out to all these people. And I was like, I don't know if this is good enough for me. So I dug further into it. But the basics do work. I just have found that a lot of businesses, and this is business period, businesses are made to make money. So consumable items and repeated treatments are the things that are going to bring me more money. My problem is there's so many people out there with addictions that there's no way my business is going to close its doors. So if you're successful, when I actually help you, you're going to go tell more people. And out of the 10 people you help, 2 will come see me. Eventually, I'm going to be so well known that, it's going to be, we're booking a couple weeks in advance, months in advance, because we have the solution for your addiction. So
Yeah, that's
I'm excited
amazing.
about where we're heading.
Yeah, and I get to be here with you in the beginning of it all.
Yes.
So back up to the treatments. How long do they take? What does a treatment look like?
So I can't give you too much, but I can tell you that I have found most of our clients so it depends on the treatment, of course. The treatment duration is anywhere between 15 and 30 minutes, depending on the treatment you're getting, as well as how your body's responding. So those things are incredibly important. The treatment, what I will tell you is you're going to have the most relaxing nap to give up your addiction. So you come in and you're going to make yourself comfortable either on a massage table or a massaging chair. And then we're going to give you a treatment where the only thing that you need to do is lay there, close your eyes, and focus on your breathing. And the reason I get you to focus on your breathing is because it allows you to relax as much as possible. It allows you to let go of the things that are surrounding you. And by focusing solely on our breath, we're actually able to allow ourselves to let go of everything. And so, depending on the treatment and how your body's working, you're going to be with us for anywhere between 20 and 45 minutes with paperwork and all of the things. And when our clients leave, they're able to drive, they're comfortable, they're relaxed. And over the next few weeks, they're going to just feel better and better and better.
Yeah, so it doesn't take very long.
No.
I love it. But what's not to love about that, except for the fact we
Right?
don't have that in the US?
Yeah, that we don't have enough of it. And don't worry, we're going to get there, especially if any of you guys are interested, feel free to reach out. I'm sure you'll have all the contact information. But going on our website and emailing us is the best way to get a hold of us. And we are looking for the right people to partner with. So if you're the right person and you reach out, we could start doing this together.
Yeah, and just say your website in case people want to look you up right away.
Yeah, laserquittherapy.ca. And laser is Laser, not Z. Also, laserquit.net will redirect you to our website as well. So I'm sure you guys will find what you need looking up Laser Quit, and look up Laser Quit Canada, because that's how you're going to find us.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Meridee. I'm so glad you found this and you decided to turn it into a business so you could help so many other people. I thank you for that. And you're changing lives, and that's why you do what you do, and that's why I do what I do.
Yep,
There's
absolutely. And thank you
nothing,
so much.
there's nothing better than that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I feel like I'm fulfilled while I'm doing what I'm doing now. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you for being on the show. And check out her website. All of that information's in the show notes. And man, we need this technology in the US like right away. So anybody out
Reach
there
out.
interested, to get started, reach out to Meridee on her website.
Yes, do it.